exams.
Yeah.
So this is a very common fear in student life. We all fear exams. Um, so what would you say about that?
Two important things. As a teacher, I would always tell you to be afraid of exams because I'm quite scared that if students didn't study, they would, if they weren't afraid of exams, they wouldn't study. And at the same time, I would say it's a very sad situation because people are studying and learning only for exams. And I think that's, as a teacher, I personally don't believe in this at all. So I don't think exams should be a reason for people to learn or for people to study. I wish people were genuinely curious, they would genuinely want to do it. But I think the fear of exams is connected to what you were saying earlier about fear of future and fear of uncertainty, fear of wanting to achieve success, fear of failure. All of these are linked together. So fear of examination is not so much going and sitting in the exam hall for 3 hours. It's about what happens later. Some of my students used to say it's not exams we're afraid of, it's the results day that scares us. It's the results which scare us. So it's about, what if I fail and my parents do not appreciate me? Or what if I fail and I don't get an exam, a stream of my choice to study further? Or if I don't get admission in the college that I like? And probably that's why board exams are such a big scare because, we feel that our life is determined by those board exams. In some ways, it is because you make certain choices based on your board exam results. But 20 years later, nobody quite asks you what your board exam result was. So to know that in the long run, your life is, you give your board exams, your class 10th boards when you're 14 or 15 and your 12th boards when you're 17 or something like that. And at 40, at 50, at 60, nobody is going to ask you about your board exams. So that in fact, I don't think anybody will ask you even at 25 what you did in your boards. So that impact sort of vanishes fairly quickly. But our society seems to believe that in traditional career options, at least, your initial 2 years make a lot of difference. So those board exams become important. I would suggest that we should never look at an examination. There are very rare examinations where we feel that we get only one try. We always have other opportunities to prove ourselves if we feel the need to prove ourselves. So I think you should be more afraid of board exams if you've not studied for the exam. You've not prepared yourself well enough to go and take the exam. Not because of the results, because if you've given it your best, it's what you could probably do. And then the results are also, I mean, you studied everything and you left that one question which came in that paper. So this is not something that you can control. So what's the point of being afraid of it? So I think preparation for exams will take care of a lot of your fear. But it's important to learn those strategies of calming yourself down before the examination, before going into the examination hall. People actually fall ill, so in that sense, fear and anxiety can become psychosomatic. Your stomach starts making noise before going to the examination hall, and you can't eat before the examination, you don't sleep before the examination. All of these are ways in which your body is telling you that you're so afraid that you can't face what is likely to stay ahead. So if you're well prepared, probably a lot of these will go down. And in this case, I feel that this is probably the only time where I recommend that talk to only those friends who will be supportive. If talking to your friends is increasing your anxiety, then probably you need to distance yourself from them, at least for some time, at least for this one thing. Don't discuss something which is making you more anxious. So probably that will help to overcome exam fear. And parents can be very, very supportive in overcoming this fear, because if they see their children studying and yet the child, for some reason, does not succeed in exam, it's not the end of the world. There will always be other opportunities. So recognizing that helps.
I could relate to most of it. So the next one is society, and we have spoken about it. Most of our fears come from here. So, would you like to add a note on it?
Yes, so when we fear what I would call social acceptance, and you know, um, what we call the world of the non-conformist. You know, we all are non-conformists in some ways. Some of us more, some of us less. People of your generation are probably more non-conformist than my generation, because you experiment more, you are more adventurous. You know, we become set in our ways, and society and social acceptance are important parts of growing up, of learning the ways of the world, and also finding your own place in the world. So it's a very tough and a very thin line to tread, because you want to find your own unique space. At the same time, you will be criticized by others around you. So some bit of criticism from society is important, because that's to keep the society moving ahead, you know, to keep people together. And for the species to survive, we need to have certain codes. For instance, one person getting up and saying, I don't believe in traffic rules and I will just drive my car the way I want, is not the kind of rebel that we want around. We want law and order. You don't go around you know, mercilessly killing people. So yes, we want social order, but do we really need to question people on gender identity or sexuality preferences or appearances, or wanting to look different, wanting to, you know, color your hair green for all we care? But we do have people around who judge us, and I think adults more than children need to play a role in this. So adults need to learn to, you know, for instance, as a teacher, one of the key questions I have is that what difference does it make if a child has spikes and is coming to class? It does not stop him from learning mathematics. So let the spikes be. I mean, you can probably use those spikes to talk about triangles and the different angles, for if you really wanted to do it in class. But why question things which don't matter? I mean, why question, you know, this idea that if somebody was interested in hairstyles and fashion, then they're not interested in studying, is really, really old. And we need to accept that everybody will have diverse interests. It's important to have diverse interests. So probably adults have a greater role to play, because social change will be slow. And we are seeing that change over a period of time. We have seen society change, but the process is slow. So even adolescents and young adults need to recognize that we have to be patient for that change to slowly set in, and at the same time take ownership for what that change will be. And when you become change makers, as youngsters, I tell everybody, each of you has the potential to be a change maker. You don't need to always go out on a protest march or rebel out completely, but you can be a change maker by changing the thoughts of people who are around you, by talking it out, by starting social movements on social media. One hashtag, one post, one video can actually bring about a lot of change. So, but think about what you are saying, because think about what you're posting, because a lot of what goes on the internet never goes away from it. So also be sure of what you believe in. So if you think about what you believe in, probably you will be more sure about what kind of change you want in society. So yeah, that's what I would say.
So next thing is dominance. So we all fear to be dominated. So again, we spoke about that, right? That not being accepted, and so yes, what is it about dominance? How, mainly how to tackle this?
So uh, why do we feel the need to be afraid of dominance? You know, so what leads us there? So our schools and our families teach us to be obedient. Our you know, we are told that you are a good person when you listen to your elders, and after a while you start realizing that sometimes elders are not correct, and sometimes they are saying things which don't resonate with us, that don't they are not in consonance with our own beliefs. And sometimes you also, when you get into, if you happen to be in a school or in a family that allows for dialogue, then you realize that adults are also not so sure of what they are saying as they pretend to be. So they also go back and question. So if you are in a space where you can dialogue, then probably you will have lesser dominance in your life. So this dominance is suppressing generally what happens is that when we feel dominated by somebody else, sometimes even by peers, in a friend circle, you will see some person takes all the decisions, even about which movie to watch, which mall to go to, how do we all dress up, what colors we like. So one person tends to dominate the group. So some amount of dominance will be normal. Some people will be naturally attuned to be more accepting of others, whereas others will tend to dominate the scenario, will be more decision makers. Sometimes only because they are the ones who take initiative and the others don't take initiative, wait for the opportunity. So some of it will be a negotiation, a process of negotiation. But in a lot of times, we need to recognize that this fear of dominance, of being dominated from others, is about being in charge of your own self. So, is it that you want to be in charge of only your own self or in charge of others also? So, while we're afraid to be dominated by others, we tend to um, become very outspoken and try to be dominating on others. So that balance has to be arrived at. How do we tackle it? We tackle it by recognizing what are the areas where we need to accept certain amount of dominance, because sometimes others may just know better. For instance, what assignment is going to get you board exam result will be best known by your teachers, whereas you may have a very creative idea for an assignment. So you need to decide whether the board exam marks are more important to you than your creative expression. Can you find an alternative space for your creative expression, and in the exam you just write what is required only for the sake of those minimal results or marks or something? And whereas there will be other times where we feel that this dominance is something that I just cannot take anymore. But plan it out. Think about how you can find your own independence without being suffocated by what others are telling you to do. So, negotiate. I would say engage in a lot of dialogue wherever you feel dominated. Engage in dialogue as much as possible, because it's not a fight. Sometimes adults, I mean, to youngsters, I would say that sometimes adults don't know how to parent because this is the only way they have been parented. They saw dominance all their lives, so they don't know that there is an alternative way of engaging with children. So be nice to your parents also. It's not really entirely their fault. They do have your best interest in mind. And to parents, I would say that just think about, is there a way that you can dialogue with your child and arrive at a decision which is mutually convenient? Because after all, it's the adolescent and the young adult who has to live their life and take decisions for their life. So as far as decisions can be meaningfully taken together, so it's important to recognize that in a negotiation you will not always win. You will either arrive at a middle point, or sometimes the other person wins, sometimes you win. So that togetherness has to be here.